And US President-elect Donald Trump has voiced his frustration over those devastating wildfires, describing the ongoing disaster as one of the worst in US history. Trump has criticised the inability of authorities to contain the fires, taking aim in particular at the Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And for more on this, I'm joined by our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, is Trump right?
Well, let's put it this way, shall we? I don't think Donald Trump ever misses an opportunity to criticise his adversaries, and he's certainly gone to town over the fires in California. In Los Angeles, here's the quote: "The fires are still raging in LA. The incompetent pols or politicians have no idea how to put them out. Thousands of magnificent houses are gone, and many more will soon be lost. There is death all over the place. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the history of our country. They just can't put out the fires. What's wrong with them?" That contains all the sort of typical language that we are associating with Donald Trump, not only recently, but also during the last part of his presidential term, pointing the finger fairly and squarely at Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of California. Donald Trump's been on his social media site, Truth Social, in recent days, giving him the nickname of Gavin New Scum in a bid to try to denigrate him. And I think what we're seeing here is something much more profound, actually, Oliver. I think we're seeing a bid by Donald Trump to show that he is in a position of force. This is a much more political argument between the two men. Remember that Gavin Newsom is a Democrat. He is an arch enemy of Donald Trump. He's been accused of trying to build up an anti-Trump front in California. So this is a bid by Donald Trump to try to undermine Gavin Newsom's efforts, blaming him for the fires. And I think there's also concern on the part of the Democrats in California that Donald Trump, once he takes office next week on Monday, may try to whittle down the amount of funding that's given to California to help fight these fires in the future, which is something which, of course, will be very worrying for the authorities in California. But there's no doubt about it that Gavin Newsom is seen as a possible presidential candidate in 2028, and that is why Donald Trump is trying to undermine his efforts now, because he sees that Gavin Newsom could be a potential threat to another Republican candidate having a term after Donald Trump ends his office in 2028.
And Newsom has hit back. Is this turning into a war of words?
Well, I think that is probably the best way of summing it up. Yes, he has hit back. There's another quote from Gavin Newsom, basically pointing the finger at Donald Trump this time round, saying people are literally fleeing, people have lost their lives, kids have lost their schools, families are completely torn asunder, churches are burnt down. This guy wanted to politicise it. As I said, a political fight. And I think many saying, well, look, this is a situation that is dire for the people of California right now. Couldn't we just sweep all this under the carpet and launch into some kind of political argument once the fires are out and people can get their lives back? I think that there has been an effort by Gavin Newsom, even though he and Donald Trump haven't spoken since the election of Donald Trump back in November, for the Democrats to try to open the door to Donald Trump. He has said that Donald Trump is welcome to come to California. He should come and see the fires for himself, comparing the non-action of Donald Trump to all the decisions that have been made by Joe Biden, the outgoing US president. So there is pressure on Donald Trump to come forward and to go and visit the victims of the fires, but there's no doubt about it, this is more of a political standoff between two men and an easy target for Donald Trump when Gavin Newsom is up to his ears in trying to deal with these fires in Los Angeles.
And now those squabblings aside, California was clearly not prepared for these fires. Why was that?
Well, just looking at the figures, I mean, that's enough to make one understand that this is something quite extraordinary. 24 people dead, 16 people missing, 150,000 people have been displaced from Los Angeles. The damage is estimated between 135 and 150 billion US dollars. Now, the bad news there is that the strong winds are due to return this week. Why is all of this happening now? Well, there are several key reasons for that. The first one is that there is this urban sprawl in Los Angeles into many areas that are known to be fire risks. There is a change in the temperature and in the climate in Los Angeles, which is quite profound over the year. You have very rainy periods where it's cold, then you have a very long dry season, which is what has happened in recent months, where the area has been turned into a sort of tinderbox with many trees and bushes and undergrowth completely dried out, and it just takes a spark or a cigarette to set that off. There has certainly been a resistance to clearing vegetation around houses. People have been told to not plant trees, not to plant bushes and shrubs close to their homes. There's been a tendency to ignore that, and that has also increased the risk of houses catching fire when there are forest fires in that area. And it has to be said that one of the other key points here is climate change, which has caused longer, drier periods in southern California than they used to be in the past. And the authorities are trying hard to grapple with that and to have enough water at their fingertips ready to use in the case of fire. Now, there has been a dispute going on about one of the reservoirs which wasn't functioning. That's the one at Palisade. Gavin Newsom did speak about this at a press conference, saying, yes, that reservoir was lacking in water. It has 440 million litres of water in it. He said that it didn't have all of that water there, which is why some fire hydrants have dried out. But that was just one reservoir out of many. That's another attack by the Republicans saying, well, you know, the Democrats weren't even able to assure the fact that there were a proper number of reservoirs in Southern California to be able to deal with these fires. So Gavin Newsom very quick to fire back on that, saying, well, yes, we do have enough, but we are face to face with a whole lot of problems that we can't deal with in one go, and we're face to face with extraordinary weather conditions, with high winds, with drought, and also climate change. This is something quite extraordinary in Southern California, but something that's going to happen more and more frequently in the future. Let's sweep all these differences under the carpet with Donald Trump. Let him come down here to see with his own eyes what's going on, to comfort people. And I think it has to be said, and I'll end on that, that most people in Southern California probably don't want to get involved in a political spat right now between Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom, just a few days ahead of when Donald Trump is going to be taking up office at the White House. What they want is for their homes to be saved, for them to be given shelter, for them to be reimbursed of all the things they've lost, and to make sure that they are not suffering any greater risk in the future of these fires happening all over again.
Thank you very much for that, Philip Turle.